Hey crafty people, I'm Sarah, also known as Craft Nerd because I'm a nerd who loves to craft. Over the years I've dabbled in most types of crafting, although for the past decade or so I've been doing primarily card making and mixed media art. I've recently embarked on a junk journaling journey that I hope you'll join me on. Today we are picking up where we left off on the autumn faux stained glass arched window scene. Let's get crafting! Okay, so I'm noticing there's gappage around this. So I've taken that miscut piece that I have, and what I'm gonna do is start with this side and attach it just inside on here. And attach this piece on the other side. And I did that, and I just realized I wanted to ink around those edges and not get ink all over the white part. Okay, hold on one sec. What we're gonna do is grab some scrap paper and do this so that we can ink around those edges. All right. And while I'm at it, I'm gonna ink these edges. And I also realized there's something else I want to do before we go any further. And that is I'm gonna pull out some white paint and give all of the windows a coating of white paint. I know that seems kind of strange since they're already white, but it's gonna help reinforce the pieces. It's gonna make sure it's all a uniform white and just help out with the overall look of the piece. So let's do that. So I'm literally just gonna give this a quick coat of white paint. And I'm gonna do it for all of the windows. And then I will be back. And I'm not doing a very heavy coat, so it should dry relatively quickly. But yeah, I'm gonna do that and I'll be back. Okay, so I have gone ahead and done a coat of white paint on all of the windows, as you can see from my fingers. I'm just marking where I need to cut away, and I'm gonna add another piece up there. So again, I'm gonna grab my cutting mat, I'm gonna grab my trimmer. I'm going to double check. And I'm just gonna cut away the bits I don't need. All right, I'm taking my window, sticking it back in and double checking. Okay, so I need to trim a little bit more over here. I think I may just do that, that, and that. So I'm definitely thinking it would have been easier if instead of using the cutout piece, I just trimmed out the window from this piece, but it's a little late now for that. So we're just kind of improvising to make sure all of our gaps are filled in. Okay, I think that's pretty good. And I think what I'm gonna do is glue this window in place on this piece. And actually, before I do that, I'm gonna do a quick coat of white paint. And I'm gonna use my heat gun to dry it because I'm impatient. All right, now that that's dry, I am going to glue this piece in, and actually I do need to trim a little bit away over here. All right, I'm gonna add glue to this piece here. There we go. Our first window is in place. And actually, I'm gonna sliver a little off here because I think it's showing. All right, so that's our inside the house window. All right, that looks good. I'm gonna put our next layer on to here. I'm gonna attach those two together. That one's lined up pretty good. I think I'm gonna wait. No, let's go ahead now. And then I'm gonna go around, and if there's any spots where we've got extra, I'm gonna trim that away. We are gonna ink all of our edges once we are done to make sure we don't have any white showing where we don't want white showing. Now, next step is to add a window into that section. And for some reason it is not. All right, for this I'm going to use my Barely Art glue because I want to make sure it lines up properly, and it's clearly not going to line up exactly right. So the most important thing at this point is to line up our arches and our openings so that everything will be lined up correctly when we look through our window, and then we can clean up anything else after. So let's open this up and make sure, see, yeah, there, everything's nice and lined up. Press that down. There we go. All right. Next layer. Glue this one on. All right, so now we're at the stage where we need to add in our stained glass, faux stained glass piece. I will link the video where I made these down below. So I'm trying to decide which one I like best. Let's see. So I'm kind of just holding it up and looking through. That one actually might be pretty good. And what I'm checking to see is how well you can see our reindeer through, because you want to be able to see the reindeer through that. So I think we're down to these two as our best options. That one, there's a lot of open space. Actually, I'm holding it the wrong way. So we've got that one, which would give us a pretty good view of the reindeer. And we've got this one, which I think also will give us a good view of the reindeer. And I think I like this one for using for this piece. So I am going to glue it in place. Add a little bit to the window area too, just because that's going to help give more stability to our window piece. And I'm going to glue that down. So there's the stained glass in our window. Now, we want to add our lights. Hopefully this is not going to cause too much of a glare if I turn them on the screen. Not too bad. Mostly because I want to see where they are for placement purposes. And I'm going to use tape to hold it in place. So let me grab some tape. And I'm putting my first light as low as possible to give me as much space as possible at the bottom for my battery pack placement. I am going to just put a little tape there, being sure I don't have it showing over my window. Move the tape to someplace where I can reach it easily. Now I'm going to go back. Let's see. Just trying to figure out how many times this is going to fit around. And I think we'll go, okay, so we're gonna do this, and I think I want this guy placed, so this is wired so that I can manipulate my pieces a little bit. We're gonna tape him down here. Oh, my tape's overlapping open window area. Let's straighten that out and have a piece up here like that. And turn this guy so he's over here. And then we're gonna go across the bottom. and up the center. Now this I have to be a little bit more careful with because we need it to stay in line with where we have paper for the arch. So I'm gonna cut a very thin. Now I'm lining it up and taping it down, and I'm gonna trim off my excess tape because it's too wide and I don't want tape showing. And I am, in a second, once I get this all taped down, gonna flip it over and check and make sure this is doing what I want it to do. Now, it may be hard to see on the screen where the white for the arches is, but I can see it on the piece as I'm working. So let's first see if this is working. Oh yes, that is giving a lovely glow. I may need to shift things a little so that the bulbs aren't showing down in those corners. Let's see how that works. Yes, that's fine. This bulb needs to shift over a little bit. That's the nice thing with the wire in there. You can make those kinds of adjustments. Now, that's going here. This is definitely a very fiddly part because I am trying to make sure none of the wire shows, none of the bulbs show, so it just gives us a lovely soft glow. And it's not helping that I have my phone plugged in, so I've got my phone cord running like here, and the wire for the end of the strand of lights keeps getting caught. Finally decided it will be easier if I just cut them off instead of trying to use the little tear piece on my tape dispenser, because then I can get them to the size I need. Now, you of course can skip this part. You could just do them around the outside a couple times so that it's a lot easier and all you're doing is lining them up along the outer edge. Now, once we put the next layer on, that's going to help with the pieces staying in place. And this guy is shifting, so he's showing. Let's adjust him. Okay. All right, this guy needs to be shifted over. That looks pretty good. All right. Turn them off for now. Okay. I think what we are going to need to do is add another piece of tape to hold that down. Okay, so what we're gonna do is add a plain piece of transparency to the back of this, and I'm gonna use some foam squares to attach this to here. And actually, what I'm gonna do is, let's set this aside for now. We're gonna start assembling this way. So I am going to grab some glue, glue down a plain piece of transparency. Bring this over just for the sake of lining things up correctly. Set this on top and make sure we line up our window. And actually, I think if I turn this on, I'll be able, yep, I can better line up my window placement. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab some foam squares. And I so need to buy some more foam squares since all I have is teeny tiny ones. Oh, no, I do have a few. Not teeny tiny, not exactly big, but this will work. This is what happens when you just decide to start crafting and don't have the, you have the idea, but you don't have it fully planned out. So I thought I'd be able to just cut out a little extra and it'd fit, and no, we definitely need to foam square this up. And honestly, I do not trust these guys, as they are not sticking very well as I'm putting them down. So I'm gonna add a little bit of Barely Arts glue, if I can get that off my finger, to make sure that any that aren't stuck down well. All right, I'm gonna add glue to the top of them because I just wanna make sure this stays together. And we're gonna add this on top and make sure we're lining up the window. That looks good. Now, this guy's gonna go here, and we're gonna double check to make sure we're lining it up correctly with the other layers. And I am seeing that tape, and that is not making me happy. This section here, see if I can lift this up. Tape showing everywhere. That's okay. There we go. I think I can live with that. All right. I'm gonna use my Barely Art glue for attaching this next window piece, just to make sure I have some wiggle time, because what we're gonna do is we're gonna check it with the front. hold this up and line up the window so that it's in line with the front one. There we go. And I have had a light shift over, and I think we're pretty much stuck with that at this point. I don't know, maybe I can... Yep, I'm pretty sure we're just stuck with that light showing a little bit over here. It's not too bad. I think I can live with that. And I'm pretty sure I don't have much of a choice. All right, next up is our outside wall, which we're gonna line up with the opening as best we can and glue down. I think I can turn the lights off. So we're gonna glue our brick wall down. And then we're gonna just add our last window arch in, just to hopefully make sure we've got a nice, oh, not wanting to fit in. All right, that. Yes, we're gonna go ahead, wait, let's see, I've got two, because we ended up skipping one. Let's see, does this one, do we like the fit of this one better? Actually, I think I do. So we're gonna glue this one down. Start up at the top, get that all lined up, and then line us up at the bottom. Hold it down. And there's our window, which will go on the box like this. Here, let me hold it like that. So next we need to put a hole in this and get our battery pack into the box. So let's mark where we need to put our hole. And I think that's about how far back I want to put this. So we're gonna do this, and I just realized something. We had to put them through the hole first before we attach this to there. Okay. How many of you were screaming, wait, you need to put it in the box first? Yeah. All right, we're gonna have to cut out a piece to get our battery pack inside the box. So I'm gonna do my best not to wreck the box while doing this, but essentially we need to cut out enough that I can go like this and tuck our battery pack through, because I should have threaded it through here before attaching it to the window. All right. Problem solved. And what we'll do is we will just, let's get it all the way threaded in, and we'll just use a little bit of tape on here. Actually, you know what? Instead of that, I'm going to use some scrap pieces of the white paper just to reinforce here. So we'll do this. Because then I don't have to worry about fighting with stuff not wanting to stick to the slick tape when we get to the finishing touches on this part. So we'll just stick that down. And before we fully attach this, let's go ahead and do some trimming. I think, yeah, you're not gonna see any of that. All right, we do need to trim along here. Which I should have been trimming all along. This is, sometimes I get carried away in the project and forget that I should be doing things as I go. All right, what we're gonna do is, I've got a little room here. We're gonna stick this on my craft mat and use a blade to trim off all that excess sticking out over here that I was supposed to be trimming as I went. For some reason, my sand, texture sand, is extremely sticky. So all of these little bits are sticking to it. All right, so this piece is going to go on like so. I am probably going to do something to make my edges along here neater, and I'm trying to decide what I want to do for that. So I'm going to have a bit of a think, and I'll be back. Okay, so I figured it out. What I ended up doing is I took a sanding block and ran it over the sides and the top to basically sand off the bits of cardstock that were still sticking up too much. So now it's pretty level. And then of course, since these edges are not very pretty looking, what I did was I cut a couple strips of paper, and these are just a little shy of a 1/4 inch. I like measured how wide our little space here was and cut some strips that would fit on top. And I just inked them with Distress Spray Stain in ground espresso because I figured that was gonna be the quickest way to do it. And we're just gonna glue them on and then ink all the spots that are still showing that are white. So that's what we're gonna do. I'm just gonna grab my art glitter glue and put glue here. And here. And add this strip along here, and I'll wipe off the excess glue. And press that down. Stand it up. And I'm going to grab a paper towel because my fingers are getting gluey. Now, I'm gonna take my strip that goes along here and attach the strip along the sides on this side, because I want to have a nice neat finished corners. So we'll kind of do that and then overlap this so the corner should be nice and neat when we do it that way. So again, I'm gonna add glue. once everything's all nice and dry, we'll go back in and ink anywhere that needs inking. So we'll pop up like this. And yeah, I ended up doing 2 very long strips. What we'll do is cut that off there, glue that down. Then glue this strip down. So there we have all nice finished, mostly finished edges. And again, we'll go back and do inking with some ground espresso so that it's as dark as that. I also added a bit on the bottom to give us a little bit more more space for placing the glue for when we glue it down. And I think we're gonna go ahead and stand her up now. So push that down. I am gonna use Aleene's The Ultimate for this piece because we want some extra strong glue. And actually, I think I'm gonna do my double glue method. So I'm gonna push that down, peel it off, let the glue dry, and then once it's dry, apply another line of glue on the bottom and glue it. Because gluing glue to itself tends to make a stronger bond than gluing glue to paper. I will be right back after that dries. Okay, so our glue is dry. So I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna add more glue and we're gonna glue this down. Push my lights in and line it back up and just hold it in place for a minute. Try and find the cap to the glue so I can put the cap back on. Just gonna hold that in place till it dries. It's pretty good right now. Yep, we are not on solid yet. All right. So I'm just gonna keep holding that in place, but I'm gonna tip it so that you can see what it looks like. So that's what it's gonna look like on our piece. All right, so I'm gonna set this aside to dry. So the next step I want to do is set it up to make it easy to access our battery pack and our power switch when this is closed. So what I'm gonna do is cut out a little section of this and I'm gonna use a Velcro dot to Velcro dot the battery pack down. So I'm taking a craft knife. Let me grab my cutting pad so I don't put another hole, because I think I put a hole somewhere in my silicone mat already. And I'm just gonna go down to the bottom and then just cut across. Now I didn't go all the way down to the bottom because I didn't want to cut through the bottom. There we go. We've got a little our little section cut out this way. So what I'm gonna do is Velcro dot it down like that, so that if you need to change the batteries, all you have to do is open this up and pull it out. That should work. We may adjust once we Velcro dot it down and see how that goes. So I've got some Velcro dots I picked up off of Amazon, and I'm just gonna match a couple up because I think we're gonna want to use 2 for this. And all right, let's make sure we don't Velcro dot the side that opens. All right, we're gonna Velcro dot on this side, and I'm gonna grab glue and add a little bit of glue just to make sure it stays stuck well, even though these are very sticky. And I'm just grabbing Fabri-Tac because I was working on clusters on my couch, and so my glue, my art glitter glue's on the other side of the room, and I don't feel like getting up to grab it just now. All right, so I've glued that down. Put the opposite side on. I'm gonna glue this one down. Just adding some glue to that side. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna attach it inside like so. So hopefully you can see that. So I've just got it glue dotted down just so it's not gonna bounce around if you're moving it. And see, with it like that, we can just easily turn on our lights and turn them off, and those slip back in. So that's all set. Now to finish off our edges up here, I'm just taking a little ground espresso distress ink on a block, and I'm gonna grab a paintbrush, and I'm just going to paint the ink on and I am getting a little on the front, which I'm okay with. And I'm gonna double check and do down the sides as well. All right, so now that we have inked all the edges, I am going to suggest that if you are planning on doing something like this, that it would probably be best to ink the white pieces that we layered all around before putting it together. Would have made this process a lot easier. That got a little wet and is buckling up. That's okay. Once it dries, it should flatten out, and I can always add more glue. So the next step is going to be decorating our outside section. And we've already done our deer, which are going to have to get glued together and layered up. I've also started die cutting and inking some trees to go along the back edge over here. And I don't remember right now what dye this is, So this is the tree. I've cut 3 out. And we'll glue that together. And this is inked with Distress Ink Spray Stain in Ground Espresso. So I've got this tree. So I'm gonna have, I think, 1 tree. Let's see if we can get this so you can see where it's gonna go. So we'll have 1 tree go here. I'll do another tree over here. Our deer will go kind of here in the middle. And then once we get those guys in place, we'll see if we want to do anything else. And then you'll be able to see them through the window, although I think it's possibly easier to just see them when the window is lit up, but I'm not sure. Actually, yes, it's easier to see them when the window is lit up. I don't know how well you can see it on screen, but that's where we're at. I need to die cut some more trees out. So I'm going to do that and then I'll be back. This is where we're going to stop for today. If you enjoyed this video, please do all the things that lets YouTube know you enjoyed the video. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave me a comment down below. Thanks for joining me and happy crafting.